mixed reactions ongoing right now. What is your perspective on this particular bill?
Well, this controversy is unnecessary and is unfortunate. I think there are a couple of people that deliberately try to mislead the public. The bill was presented to the Senate. Before then, it had been passed by the House of Representatives without any rancor. It was presented. It was within their legislative right to ask, and we're providing the answers. But some people outside the legislature, or people have taken it outside the conference of the legislature into the public domain, and they're trying to mislead people.
How do you think they're trying to?
It's in the laws of the Federation of Nigeria. Then we brought on board the River Basin Development Act. We brought in the Nigerian Hydrological Services Act. We brought in the Nigeria Water Resources Institute Act. And instead of having these fragmented laws, we all put them into one document. And this process started in 2006 and was concluded in 2008 with stakeholder meetings, workshops, and roadshows across all the geopolitical zones. What happened is not new. The bill was left comatose for some reason. No other administration championed it. It wasn't a priority to them until we came. There is nothing new in that bill. Federal government has always been the custodian of water resources in this country, as long as all the waters that are transboundary between countries and transboundary between states.
Does it not take away land from the people?
There is nothing about taking away land. This bill is consistent with the Land Use Act. If the land on the banks of the river belongs to the states and the communities that have them. But what we are trying to do is, sometimes you have unusual flows of water, they are flooding, and it flows over the banks. The responsibility for that water still rests with the government. If the river dries up and the land is reclaimed, it belongs to the people. But we are concerned only with the water resources, not the land itself.
But the water is on the land.
So, can we put the water in the sky?
So we're saying the same thing. It's not robbing the people of their land.
There's nothing like robbing the people of the land. The water resource is what we are talking about, the riverbed and the banks of the river. The confines, it's like a ball of water or a rectangle.
How do you separate what the government wants and what belongs to the people?
The land belongs to the people. It's clear. There is no ambiguity about it. But the water resource is to be regulated by the federal government because it crosses boundaries. 80% of the water resources in Nigeria are generated within Nigeria. But let me also tell you that the most of the water is either from the River Niger or the River Benue. River Niger gets into Nigeria from Kebbi State. River Benue comes in through Adamu State. If there is no regulation by the federal government, tomorrow Kebbi State can arbitrarily dam River Niger, or Adamu State can arbitrarily dam River Benue. What do you think will happen downstream? People will be affected, and that's what we are trying to protect. If that happens, there will be no delta. Kogi State, Anambra State, Oguta, all those places will be affected. Most of the water that is flowing southwards, apart from River Niger and Benue, also the watershed is the Jos Plateau and the Mambila Highlands, and they are in northern Nigeria. So most of the agitators against this bill are actually the ones being protected.
Why is the dividend of this bill being, people don't really understand it. They don't really understand the gains they might derive from this. So why is the whole disconnect happening right now?
Like I said, it's pure politics. It's pure
and there are several groups that have risen to play this politics.
But unfortunately, but this bill went through a process. There was a public hearing, even in the House of Reps, and there was no issue, and it was passed. Why the brouhaha today? You should ask yourself. What we are doing is to protect the water resources of this country. The law has been there. It has always been there. We are not reinventing the wheel. We are only consolidating all the bills together. The only new things that I can mention, we need to regulate the water sector, just like we've done to the power sector, so that we can bring in the private sector into the game, because it's becoming apparent that states and federal government alone cannot run water schemes. So we're making provision for the private sector to come in. That is one. Number two, the irrigation management in this country. We are now also providing, within the confines of this law, the opportunity for farmers under what we call a Water Users Association to participate in the management of irrigation systems. Another thing is we now have what we call catchment management committees, and they comprise of all the states. The state will be represented. Even the regulatory agency will have representatives from the state, and that means the regulation of how water is used is now taken off for the federal government and given to an independent authority.
So how exactly are you going to be protecting people whose livelihoods depend on water, for instance?
We have always, the law has been there, they've always been protected. Has there ever been an issue till date? No. This is the same law.
So there hasn't been an issue till date, but right after this bill goes through, it comes into full effect.
There is not going to be any issue. There is not going to be any issue. This bill promotes integrated water resources management. Integrated water resources management implies we have to look at water holistically. We have to give people a say in how the water resources are being exploited. That's why now we have to license. Previously, federal government could pick any river and dam it. You know, there was a time when we didn't even have environmental impact assessment, and we built dams in this country. But this bill is saying, no, these things cannot happen. There has to be a regulation. That's why we have now, we already have an Integrated Water Resources Management Commission, but which is not really backed by law, because we'll be licensing. If you have to do a power plant, you have to get a water license. If you are doing mining, you have to get a water license. If you are doing commercial exploitation of water, you have to get a water license. And those are the ways to protect people. So, and we're also saying there cannot be private ownership of water. What it means is that some money bag or some powerful individual cannot come and commandeer a river and say it is his own, or commandeer a lake and say it is his own, because the water is for everybody's use, is for public good, but the use has to be regulated.
Which was not really done through the Water Resources Act of 2000.
No, it's there. I'm telling you, all these provisions are already in the Act that has been existing since 1993. There is nothing new. I mentioned the regulatory agency. It's not that there's been no regulation. The former Act, the existing Act, Water Resources Act 2004, gives the minister enormous amount of powers over water resources in this country. This bill is devolving some of those powers from the minister to the states. And people don't understand. So that's why I'm really, I'm saying people are being confused. Because what people are arguing is the exact opposite of what this bill is trying to do. This bill is trying to protect everybody.
So what is the relationship between this bill and cattle colony? Because we hear that, this is going to favor, the Fulani herdsmen and all of that.
There is no iota of truth. Tell me any community that doesn't have a stream or a river. It's just protecting water for downstream users. That's all. There is nothing about land on this in this bill. The issue is just about how we manage and regulate our water resources. I have told you this bill is consistent with the Land Use Act. That is not in conflict at all with the Land Use Act. Nobody is taking anybody's land. This bill is about water resources.
Thank you very much, Engineer Adamu, Suleiman Adamu. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For coming to the channel.